Hello everyone, this is Ryan Morosco and I will be covering teaching devices for increasing student learning from lectures. According to Gore in Inclusion Strategies for Secondary Classrooms, ELN students have difficulty discriminating between critical and non-essential information. And one of the things we're going to be talking about is how cue points, critical cue points, allow the ELN students to easily discern when it is an appropriate time to note take or to highlight a particular word or statement or subject matter. That way they have a better idea of how information is organized. With spoken cues specifically, students increased the number of noted main ideas by 39% and important details by 35%. So just the spoken cues alone go a long way in reiterating some of the main facts and points for the students who have the difficulty discriminating between critical and non-essential information. Written cues also play a large role in the learning process. However, the statistics regarding written cues aren't as clear and as well researched as the spoken cues are. Also part of the program here, you'll notice that all the key points have a key at the bottom next to the title. Each slide has its own title with the main point highlighted of that title for you to easily discern what the subject of each slide is, what information is valuable to you, and what the supporting information is that goes along with it. So look for those keys and look for the highlighted words in the titles of each slide. Here we have 5 different styles of lecturing. The first, oral presenters, strictly talk using very little visual supports, and you can see the icon at the top represents the oral presenters. Next we have visual information givers. They use more of the visual information to provide time for students to note take. They rely a little bit more heavily on that, which is not like the oral presenters, a well-balanced approach. The third is exemplary performers. They use both the oral and the visual strategies, objectives, aids, and cues, and is the most comprehensive form of lecturing that includes all the different approaches and styles. We also have eclectic lecturers who a variety of strategies are utilized, but there's difficulty structuring some of the class materials, and you can also see the cartoon of the teacher juggling everything at once, not quite organized. And then also amorphous talkers, the overconfident, poorly prepared, vague, last minute, and that's not going to be a successful style of lecturing for the most part. Again, this is the 5 styles of lecturing. This is also one of the main points of what we're covering today. And on next to using cue critical points. This again is another main focus of what we're going over, and it really includes 3 different cues: written cues, verbal cues, and nonverbal cues. Those are what we're going to look into specifically, and how they interact with students' ability to receive and understand and organize the information. I am cueing you if. One of the main points was to let the students know how they will be cued, so that when they come to those points where you are cueing them, they understand what it means and what to do once they reach that point. One of the examples is the information is written on the whiteboard or classroom wall. If that information is written up, say it is what to do that week, the subject we're covering, or the lecture notes. Anything that's written on the board or on the wall is information that they need to pay attention to, note take, and be aware of to follow along and be productive in the classroom. Or also when a handout is given. Anything that is received by the students should be looked over, and well understood. These are for written cues. Next we have verbal cues. I am cueing you if I say it 3 times, I ask for a drum roll, I say to write it down, or I have you say it back to me, I have you echo me. That is a verbal cue that will allow students to understand your intentions, what information is important, and exactly when those points occur throughout your lecture or your instruction, so that they can follow along in the appropriate, organized, structured manner. And finally, we have nonverbal cues. Some examples of nonverbal cues are body movement, body orientation, and nuances of the voice. All those play a significant impact in how you use them together. If you have an incorrect nuance of the voice, but correct body movements, it may not be sending the right signal. So it's important to use hand cues, body posture cues, to translate to students what your intentions are without actually having to say it. That avoids many of the language barriers, and the body language and nuances of the voice is a universal language in itself. So here we have using cues to signal key concepts. And again, we have the key down here at the bottom. So this is one of the important aspects of what we're covering. And this is the visual cues and verbal cues. The visual cue, we have an example, the key image next to the title of each slide, will cue to the students that this is an important slide in the presentation that they should pay additional attention to so that they can better understand what comes after it. Organizing text in color or bold, which is what I've done with the titles at the bottom, makes it easy to grab the main points and write them down quickly. Sometimes transferring it down to notes while a lecture is going too quickly can become overwhelming and difficult, so this helps students find out exactly when and what they need to write to have a well-organized note structure. And also verbal cues, repeating the key concepts multiple times. Again, we were going over verbal cues, nonverbal cues, and written cues. And then beyond that, we're talking now about visual cues and verbal cues. So to reiterate the concept, puts it back into perspective what we're talking about. And finally, some of the cue words that you will either use yourself or come in contact with in the classroom when you are talking about a subject and you say first, second, or firstly, secondly, thirdly, lastly. Such cue words as that are triggers or cues that the students are to organize the information that you're delivering to them in such a way that first, second, third, then, after, finally, therefore, in contrast, it gives them a context to reference how to organize the information. So cue words are also very important in organizing the information that you're delivering and how the students receive it and organize it and structure it inside of their own minds and notes. So these are some of the important critical aspects of cue critical points. Some of the techniques, some of the examples are helpful in you transferring your intentions, your knowledge to English language learning students that may possibly miss some of the here and there items because you either went too quickly or didn't highlight really when it was appropriate. Thank you guys. Have a great day.